Let us not forget everything that happens. It's by the will of Allah. Holy will. It's time to unite and stand, and we will be the best amongst men. It's not time to be extreme or do the unthinkable, but to stand together as one. Tune into Sunnahfollowers, streaming every day, various platforms. Trust me, you'll find a way. Sunnahfollowers, you will make it through. The Fitrah is awaken you. With Quran and Sunnah by your side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. You will make it through. The Fitrah is awaken you. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through. With Quran and Sunnah on his side, here's a place where it will thrive. You will make it through.
That gave you guys a couple of days to brush up on today's class, because we're continuing with the book entitled Diluting, Bara, Volume 2. This book is a masterpiece put together by Sheikh Karim Abu Zaid, and every Muslim living in the non-Arabic world. I repeat, every Muslim living in the non-Arabic world. Why do I say non-Arabic? Because even though Islam is disappearing, even in the Arabic world, there's more fitting over there in the Middle East than there is here. But still, they do teach basic Aqidah. That's part of their curriculum in their schools. So even though the people may not practice it, they understand the concept of La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. They know the lawful and the unlawful. The women know what they can and can't do, what they can and can't wear, even if they don't practice. But the Muslims in the non-Arab world, for many of you, your religion is watered down. The knowledge of Islam is watered down and presented to you, based on whoever the speaker or teacher is. Because maybe it's something that they don't agree with, or maybe they got their heart broken in their Arabic country. You never know. Life is life. C'est la vie, c'est la vie. What can we say? So, only thing I can tell you guys is subhanallah. That's why this trilogy that is written by Sheikh Karim Abu Zaid should be a part of every Muslim's library, especially those of us living in the non-Arabic world. This trilogy begins with the first book that we studied, called Get to Know Your Lord. That's the first part of the Shahada. What does it mean to believe in Allah? We covered that from A to Z in the first book. What it means to believe in those angels and the prophets, alayhi salam, and the Sunnah and all of that. Then the second of this trilogy is Diluting, Bara, Volume 2, which is the second part of that Shahada, which speaks about allegiance. How when we declare La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah as Muslims, we are also declaring allegiance to Allah. Allegiance to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and allegiance to this religion and to each other. We covered what that meant and how it's done in Volume 1. So now we are in Volume 2, the third of this trilogy of Diluting Bara. And this volume, as we can see, it's over 500 pages. And by the way, all the books are like that, over 300-400 pages. Okay, in this book, we're taking the knowledge that we learned in volume 1 and volume 2, or the first of the trilogy, the second of the trilogy. We're taking the knowledge of what it means, how to get to know Allah, and then how to show allegiance to him and to the prophet. We're taking all of that and applying it to ourselves in this book, because for most of us, if not all of us, we live in a non-faith centered environment. And it all begins with understanding the fitrah. And most Muslims do not understand the fitrah. That's why you have a lot of Western Muslims calling themselves reverts, when you are not a revert. You are a convert to Islam. And the reason that you do that is because you don't know what revert means, and you don't know what the fitrah is. The fitrah is a part of us that never left. It was there before you was put in your body. Okay, the fitrah originally was part of the human soul. And Allah created all of our souls right after he had the soul blown into Adam, alayhi salam. So all of our souls were created millions of years ago. And our souls were kept with Allah wherever he keeps our souls. And then what Allah does is, whenever a woman gets pregnant, Allah will assign the soul to be blown by an angel into her womb. Okay, whoever's womb was assigned to that soul. Mine, yours, our great-great-great grandkids, etc. So you are not a revert to anything. There's nothing for you to revert to, because it's always been there. Plus, it's not a substance. The soul is an entity. It's not a substance. When we talk about reverting, revert means to go back to an original substance. You were not made of liquid. You are not made of a rock. You are a human being, an entity created by Allah. So revert is not the correct English word to use. The correct English word is convert. What does convert mean? Convert means to adapt a new ideology. Convert means to adapt a new belief system. Convert means, look it up in the dictionary, to adapt a new religion or lifestyle. So revert is not the correct term, because your fitrah never left. It just was moved from the soul to the heart when Allah had the angel blow your soul to the womb of your mother. So the fitrah, it believes in Allah. It has no memory of where it was or what it was doing, but it knows that la ilaha illallah is true. And it misses that. It wants to go back to that. It wants to be in the company of Allah. It wants to be around the angels where it originally was. It recognizes the truth from falsehood. It recognizes good from evil. That's why the human heart is attracted to what's good and clean, because that's where the fitrah lies. Whereas the human soul is attracted to that which is bad and dirty, because the soul is a baby. It's ignorant by nature. It's curious and ignorant by nature, and it's attracted to the things that are bad for it. And we spend every day of our existence as human beings choosing to either follow the soul or follow the heart. Sometimes we choose the soul. Sometimes we choose the heart. That's called jihad an-nafs, okay? The struggle. the struggle between the soul and the heart. So we've been discussing that. Okay. And in order to help that fitrah find its way back home to Allah, we have to look at our environment. Be careful of the environment that we choose to live amongst. Be careful of the people we choose as our friends. We want to surround ourselves with a faith-filled environment. That's why you brothers need to be attached to the mosque. That's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said one of the people, he's talking about a man who will sit on the throne of Allah one of the men who will sit under the shade of Allah on the day when there will be no shade but Allah is the man whose heart was attached to the mosque. And let me talk about that for a second, because one of the brothers asked me, this is an email that I read today, one of the ones I did read and said I would answer today. He said, for the people, for those 7 who will sit under the shade of Allah on the day of judgment, does that mean that they will enter paradise and won't have to go through the settling of the scores? No. 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 It just means exactly what it said. You will sit under shade while Allah deals with the others. But after Allah is done dealing with the others, you have to stand up and walk across that Sirat bridge and give away your bad deeds to those who harmed you. Okay, and take on the bad deeds of those whom you harmed. It's called the settling of the scores. Every one of us has to go through that. So it's possible that you could have been a person that was shaded on that day, but you still got to do some time in hell. Some people may be dipped in the hellfire for just a second to make them forget everything that they thought was good in this world that's evil, because no one will enter paradise whose heart has not been purified of those things that are bad and dirty. Example, no one will enter paradise wanting to smoke a cigarette, because cigarettes are haram. And everything haram in this world remains haram in the hereafter, because they're the things Allah hates. No woman will enter paradise wanting to be in a polygamous situation, meaning wanting to have 2 men, wanting to be bisexual. No, if you have those type of desires in your heart, Allah is going to dip you in that hellfire for 1 second. And that 1 second, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will cause you to forget everything that you thought was good. That's why it's all about training yourself now. If you want to be free of the dipping, you want to be free of that hellfire, you have to train your soul in this world to become in sync with the heart. That's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, who are the people? The people that will be free of any dipping in hell. They are the true believers. The true believers. And who are the true believers? They are the people that live their life in this world, obeying Allah, staying away from what he commanded. They kept their personal opinions out. They are the people who train themselves to love only what Allah loves and hate only what he hates. You one of them people going around saying something's haram and it's not, you ain't one of those people. Okay? That's why the Prophet said you will never, ever, ever be a true believer until you love only what Allah loves and hate only what he hates. Most of us won't be in that category. Those companions will, those 75,000 forerunners, they're the ones that's not going to be held accountable. They train their hearts to that. They are the best of the best. But for many of us, you know, we're going to have to go through some dipping. Some dipping. Because we couldn't control our personal opinions. I'll give an example. Sheikh Morsi, who is one of the scholars of the ulama, he came in here last month and did answer questions for you guys for my Q&A show. And he gave you guys the same answer I gave about women having to wear a niqab. He said there's nothing in the Quran, there's nothing in the Sunnah that says a woman has to cover her face. He said, and no man, no woman, no jinn, no child can make you do anything that Allah didn't command you to do. It's clear. And even if you said you did it to please someone else, what did Allah say? Allah says in a beautiful hadith qudsi, anyone who does a good deed to please me and somebody else, it will never be accepted because I am not in need of your association with me. So that's clear. That's clear. That is clear. You can't tell your wife to do something to please you because you're asking her to do something to associate partners with Allah. You're not her Allah's equal. If she's going to do it, she's doing it for the sake of Allah, not for you. That question was answered in detail by me and then by Sheikh Morsi, and we gave the evidence. But do you know I still have brothers coming on my YouTube channel, putting their opinion. I think there's more fitna in the West, so a woman need to cover her. Fitna is everywhere. They didn't have fitna back in the Prophet's days. Women were raped. Women were raped. Women were part of the casualties of war. Allah still said she didn't have to cover. He still didn't say she had to cover her face. Today is better than it was back then. The dark ages were the worst eras in man's history. How dare you numbskulls say that today is worse than then? Subhanallah. So that's an example. Until you learn to love what Allah loves and hate only what he hates, you'll never be a believer. So a lot of us are going to be dipped. If you one of those men that believe a woman need to walk around like a cyclops and can't be beautiful, you got to go through some dipping because Allah loves beauty. And Allah commands all of us. He says, oh, you women and men. Oh, you men and women. Oh, you men and women, wear your beautiful clothing to the mosque. He didn't say just men. He didn't say for a woman to wear no daggone pajamas to the mosque. He said, oh, you women and men, wear your beautiful clothing to the mosque. So if you got something in your heart that contradicts that, you got to go through some dipping. Because in paradise, the women will all be dressed in beautiful garments of all different colors. And they won't be covering their faces. Okay? They'll be covering the rest of their body, but not their faces, unless they want to. Okay? So the dipping is real. And a lot of us will be dipped. Like the prophet said, unless you are a true believer, and the true believers are rare. So that's something that we need to think about. That's something that we need to ponder. That's something that we need to contemplate as Muslims. And so what I want to do today, because I know that we're supposed to cover pages 92 through 94. 92 and 94, they speak, those are the pages that speak about how we can change, how we can evolve, go about changing the condition of ourselves. to that which is pleasing to Allah. I want to save that for tomorrow, because I'm going to make up some real good scenarios that I'm going to put you guys in, and you tell me how you're going to, what steps you would take to change yourself. So today, what I want to do is just go through a review. Okay, I started it off with the Fitrah. I started it off how your heart, we should be working every day as Muslims. The heart, the Fitrah, is trying to find its way back to Allah. We should be training our soul to like and only what Allah likes, to hate only what Allah hates. What are some obstacles that can stand in the way of our training of the soul and the heart? Who can get on that mic and tell me? What are some obstacles that you or I may encounter that may stand in the way of us helping the Fitrah of the heart to find its way to Allah? Come on, let's hear it. Get on the mic. I told you guys I'm going to review once a week. Go ahead.
Not letting go of your bad habits that you were doing before your Fitrah was awakened.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. How many of you fall in that category? You got a lot of bad habits. You're doing a lot of bad things that you know you shouldn't do, but you're choosing to continue indulging in them. You can forget about helping your Fitrah find its way to Allah. You have to stop the sin first. You have to stop disobeying Allah first. What's another thing that will stand in the way of your finding its way back to Allah? Anyone else? Go ahead.
Not admitting to your mistakes, thinking that there's no room for any improvements or changes that you need to make.
Exactly. How many of us fail to admit our mistakes or our faults? I have a big fault that I was talking about today in my Zoom room. I'm a perfectionist, and I struggle with that because perfection only belongs to Allah. But I'll sit here and make myself sick with anxiety like I was. And that's why I fell out yesterday, because I want my website to be perfect. I want everything to be perfect, but I don't understand that. I do understand. I have to accept that perfection only belongs to Allah. I'm going to make mistakes. So that's another thing that can stand in our way. You will never grow. You will never find your way back to Allah. You will never win the journey against Shaitan if you cannot own up to your deficiencies or your mistakes. Good job. What's another one that'll stand in the way?
Allowing your tests and trials to keep you down.
That's a big one. A lot of us, when Allah throws us a curveball, we allow our trials and tests to keep us down. Remember, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there are 6 reasons as to why the Christians will always have an upper hand over us in this world. One of them is they are quick to recover from a hardship. We don't. Look how many of you Muslims have lost it since Gaza. Since what's going on in Gaza, you can't function. Your mind is gone. You've lost it. We got some Muslims talking about apostation. You know, we have to be able to recuperate from hardships. You know, we're supposed to learn and grow from the trials of life, not allow the trials of life to suck us under and destroy us. Life is meant to be a struggle and a test. But Allah never places a burden on any of us that we can't bear. You have to believe that. But a lot of people can't get past their problems, their trials. They live in the past. You will never move forward as long as you hold on to the past. Good job. What's another one that stands in the way?
Sister Sakina said lack of correct knowledge.
Good job. That's the number one. A lot of Muslims seeking the wrong knowledge. You on YouTube following these famous Ruwaybida. That's what the YouTube influencers, social media influencers are. They're the Ruwaybida that the Prophet warned against. They're not calling you to the true Islam. And how can you tell if the knowledge you seek is beneficial or not? Who can answer that? The Prophet told us how you can tell if this person's worth listening to or not. How can you know if that person's worth listening to?
If they're basing everything on the Quran and authentic Sunnah.
Not just that. How did the Prophet told us, because he was asked, how do I know if the knowledge I am seeking is beneficial? How do you know? Because most people don't know the Quran and Sunnah. But how did the Prophet tell us we can recognize if it's beneficial?
He said you can recognize by it if it shakes your heart or makes you cry and wants you to better yourself.
Exactly. Does that person make you cry? That's what the Prophet said. Because you don't know what's good or bad because you knew. But if that person makes you cry, when you listen to her or you listen to him, if they cause you to break down and cry, if they cause you to want to change yourself to something better, that's how you know it's beneficial. So a lot of y'all are listening to people that make you laugh. Listen to people that don't affect you at all. That's not beneficial knowledge. Beneficial knowledge penetrates the heart, wakes up the fitrah, makes you cry for Allah, yearn for him, and be determined to change. Okay, what's another thing that stands in the way?
Procrastination.
Good job. Number one, that's the human soul. The human soul is lazy by nature. The human soul likes to put off doing good deeds. A lot of people destroy their lives because they procrastinate too much. You could have had something good, but you put it off. You took your time. You didn't move fast enough. Life is short. We have to move quickly in life. You can't keep putting off repenting because what guarantee do you have that you're going to live tomorrow? A lot of brothers and sisters put off marriage. Oh, I should have married that sister. I should have married. Yeah, you blew it. Now she married somebody else. Or now he done married somebody else because you procrastinated. Okay, good job. What's another issue that will stand between your fitrah and Allah?
Ego, just knowing everything. Don't mean listening to nobody.
Arrogance. That's another quality of the human soul. The soul is arrogant by nature. Arrogance is a sin of disbelief. That's why the Prophet said anyone who dies arrogant will be in hell forever, because just like suicide, arrogance is a sin of disbelief. You think you're above failure, above correction. Good job. Okay, what's another thing that will stand between your fitrah and Allah?
Not being in a faith-filled environment, not staying in a faith-filled environment around enemies of Allah.
Exactly. Who you surround yourself with. Are you hanging around kafirs? You shouldn't have any non-Muslim friends. All your friends should be Muslim. You women and men, you should not have your children hanging around with non-Muslims. They should be with Muslim children, because at least their lifestyle is the same. We pray, we fast. Okay, what else stands between the fitrah and Allah? Brother Musa said ignorance. Exactly. Allah hates ignorance of the religion. We put a lot of time and money and effort in learning how to be a doctor, learning how to be a nurse, going to college to get a PhD. But how much effort and time did you put in learning Islam? What else? Good job. What else stands between the fitrah and Allah?
Not having any self-respect or self-worth.
Exactly. Low self-esteem. That's why I tell my students, pick yourself up. I don't want to hear none of my students thinking that they are failures in life. You better work on some self-confidence, some self-love, some self-respect. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there's two types of pride, inner pride and outer pride. Inner pride is high self-esteem, self-love, self-respect. You need that in order to be a believer. Outer pride is when you take the inner pride and let it go through your head and it becomes arrogance. That's what'll take you to hell. So it's all about balancing. You balance out your self-love, your self-respect, and self-esteem. So you don't think that you a failure, nor do you think you all that in a bag of chips. I'm just a son of Adam struggling to make my way back to Allah. Good job. What else stands in the way?
Being tolerant of things that are haram.
Say it again.
Being tolerant of things that are haram.
Good job. Exactly, guys. How many of us are tolerant? You're tolerant of marijuana. You're tolerant of cigarettes. You allow your children to smoke cigarettes around you. You allow your friends to smoke marijuana around you. You allow your friends to play their rap music around you. You know, we shouldn't be tolerant. Well, we're supposed to hate everything that Allah hates. And Allah says he hates everything he made haram. So we have to hate it too. He hates music. He hates cigarettes. He hates fornication. He hates lying. He hates cheating. So we have to disassociate, do bara, and disassociate from that. What else? Good job. What else stands between your fitrah and Allah?
Wasting too much time watching TV instead of learning your religion.
Exactly. How we spend our time. How do you spend your time? Watching TV? Hanging out in the streets at the mall? Or do you spend more time remembering Allah? I spend most of my time on this website. In fact, I spend too much time. That's why I got to learn how to strike the balance. Okay? Even with the dawah, we have to strike the balance because too much of anything is bad for you. You know, we're not angels. We're human beings. There's a time for dawah and a time to sleep, Layla. I got to remind myself of that. There's a time to teach and a time to be alone. Okay, there's a time to talk and a time to be quiet. So again, we have to strike the balance and make sure that the deeds we do are pleasing to Allah, but they're balanced. Good job. What else stands between your fitrah and Allah?
Not knowing your strengths and weaknesses. Because
exactly.
If it's something that is your weakness, you may accept it, and then you may fall into something that is haram.
Exactly. And Islam, guys, you have to know yourself, know your self-worth. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the companions, you have to know your self-worth because Allah will never change the condition of a person until that person takes the steps to change the condition of himself. And in order to change yourself, you have to know your strengths. You have to know your weaknesses. Good job. What else stands in the way?
Not being consistent in your learning.
MashaAllah. Consistency. Remember the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah loves for us to do good deeds that are easy for us to do and to be consistent doing them. You don't want to be a person that used to pray the witr prayer and then you stop. So you lost the ultimate reward of the witr. You don't want to be a person that used to give in charity, but you stopped. So you lost the ultimate reward of giving in charity. We have to learn to balance ourselves and be consistent in doing the deeds that are pleasing to Allah. Good job. We got another answer here, being doubtful. Again, that goes with the self-assuredness. Have certainty of faith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught the companions. He said, don't just say you believe in Allah. Say you believe in Allah and be certain of that. In other words, can't nobody come and make you question it. You guys are learning Islam in its truthfulness here at my website, because we're teaching Islam in its truthfulness with the understanding of the companions. But everything I teach you, it should hit your heart. You shouldn't be able to hop to another YouTube channel and let those deviants tell you guys, oh no, she's not right. Do your good deeds to please your husband, because pleasing your husband is pleasing Allah. Astaghfirullah. Do y'all see the hypocrisy in that statement? How is pleasing your husband pleasing Allah? You're saying that your husband is equal to Allah. Allah has no partner. He has no one equal to him. Allah said anything you do to please him and someone else, you can keep it. Arrogance belongs to Allah. Pride is his cloak. So how can you leave my stream where I'm teaching you the truth, giving you the adalil, the clear evidence, and you let some loser tell you, oh, she wrong. Pleasing your husband is pleasing Allah. Astaghfirullah. So my husband is Allah? So my husband's Allah? So if I make my husband please and I'm going to paradise, that means forget about Allah. My husband wants me to take off my hijab. So I'm going to please him with that too. My husband wants to have illegal sexual relations with me. So I let him do that too, because that's pleasing him. Astaghfirullah. Y'all better have certainty of faith where can't nobody strip you of what you believe. You believe la ilaha illallah and you hold firm to that. Okay? What else stands between you and Allah? Is Mukhtar?
Having too much.
And let me know if
love,
Mukhtar comes in too, guys. Go ahead.
Having too much love, fear, and hope and something else other than Allah.
Exactly. It's about balance. Allah should always be first and foremost. Our love for Allah should be first and foremost. Then our love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then our love for ourselves. I did the story of Hani, who was the first love of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam the other day. And remember, she told the Prophet, the only reason I'm not going to marry you is because I love you not only as a man, but I love you more as a prophet. And I could not be fair with my children because you come before them. That's faith. All right. So I'm going to stop right here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu